I visit them frequently because they always seem to want me to meet someone. I met this heiress who I've since called the Cetra. She was a cool, nerdy college girl with a big brain. She liked old RPGs and had been to Japan as well as going to study in Europe. We were pretty good friends, but Jen repeatedly kept talking about how she was going to put aphrodisiacs in our food, and because I was Jack and she... I visited them frequently because they always seemed to want me to meet someone. I met up with Eris, who I've since called the Cetra. She was a cool, nerdy college girl with a big brain. She liked old RPGs and had been to Japan as well as going to study in Europe. We were pretty good friends, but Jen repeatedly kept talking about how she was going to put aphrodisiacs in our food, and because I was Zach and she was Eris, we needed to sleep together because neither her nor I was on the train to Hot Dog Land. We just played video games together instead. Jen was very disappointed and immediately assumed the personality of Eris' imaginary boyfriend, lowering her voice and commanding things of her. I myself had always been squicked by personal displays of affection. It comes part and parcel with being asexual, but I had to lie on my guest futon while Jen and Eris snuggled, made loud kissing noises, and giggled with each other. I could not wrap my head around how this girl who claimed to be straight could not see that she was just lying with another woman making out. I turned my back to them at some point because I was squicked. It just really bugged me. I just tried to go to sleep. The next day, Jen decided to show me magic battles. Basically LARPing fights. She would swing around a stick or a sword to music and feign injury when Hojo threw stuff at her after making some goofy hand movements. Hojo would do the same when Jen would thrust her staff forward or something. They tried to get me to do it, but I can't act. I can't pretend I'm doing magic because I'm not that out of it. Eventually, Jen dragged me to my feet, and it was something like karaoke. I kept laughing at myself and the fact that I could do something of a limp wrist movement and Jen would throw herself on the floor panting. Afterwards, they kept telling me, "See, Zach, you can use magic." And I just kept laughing. I knew what I was doing, and I was not that out of it, but I was ready to keep humoring them because I wasn't hurting anybody. There were a few visits like this. Jen did a lot of things that I can't think of in chronological order. When she was stressed about something, she would grow faint in town. Because I didn't know her that well, I thought that maybe she was anemic and would hurry to help her. Also, I had told her when she first asked me to visit that I cannot eat meat. I cannot eat red meat specifically. I was raised as a vegetarian, so my body never got used to digesting it. Red meat makes me sick, by no choice of my own. But every night, Jen would cook red meat, and I would eat it because that was all that was there, and I would become sick. Increasingly during my visits, each of it would cost around $300 for a bus ride. Jen would ask me for money to go food shopping or toy shopping or whatever. I would just give it over because I always felt like the guest ought to bring some stuff for their host as a thank you. When my friends had their families pay for me at dinner, I always felt slightly guilty, so I just gave some over every time. Around spring, we were still fairly good friends despite things that Jen did that disturbed me. At one point, her and Hojo had locked me into a soundproof glass chamber in the basement of the school building because they wanted to see me remembering being Zach. I panicked, and not because I thought I was in a video game mansion. After banging on the door and jerking the handle and freaking out, I was finally let out, and was shaking. I was not pleased with them the rest of that day. In spring, Hojo IM'd me. Knowing a few of my musical taste, he had mentioned there was a free music show in town and Jimmy Eat was playing. Zar had hooked on everything from her brother, and we both knew and were pretty into him at the time. So we were like, heck yeah, it's worth it, and set off down there. When Zar arrived, the first thing Jen did was assign her a role. She was now Vincent Valentine because she had long hair. Zar was also a dumb freshman at the time, and although her dumb was more like the angst dumb, so there was salt okay with her. She likes Vincent as a character. He's one of her favorites. Jen immediately wanted to try a past life regression with us. Yes, video game past life. We were taken into a bedroom which smelled like poon and made to lie on the floor. Jen put a loop of a MP3 of The Nightmare Is Just Beginning, which I now realize is hilariously appropriate. It's the song that plays when you unlock Vincent's character in Final Fantasy VII. Now Zara and I cannot do anything seriously when we're put together, even as dumb freshmen. To Jen's hardcore frustration, even though Zara and I both tried to be serious and act our parts, we wound up joking and laughing with each other. In frustration, Jen declared that we were too silly to do this tonight, and we could do it some other time. Zara, the whole time, was sneezing really badly. I jokingly suggested that she was allergic to magic. Jen and Hojo took this very seriously. Of course, allergic to magic, we can fix that. There was a lot of a staff shaking and waving over Zara in gibberish, chanted in Setra or Elvish. When it was all done, Zara kept sneezing. Darn. Since Zara and I are both artists, Jen wanted us to draw her a doujinshi. She showed us some doujinshi that Kat had drawn for them, but Jen wanted ours to be serious and involve a lot of not-so-good things with Hojo and Vincent Valentine. A collaboration, she suggested. Like I already mentioned, Zara and I together pretty much diffused any seriousness that could exist. What Jen wound up with was a comic that involved marshmallow peeps over people's things, complete lack of things, and commentary that, on fact, pictures of upside-down stick houses with captions of just ridiculousness. Zara and I went to the concert alone because Jen and Hojo don't like the music or crowds. We had tons of fun, but the ground was horribly muddy. Our pants were caked in it from goofing off and stuff with the music. Some college guys who had been rolling in the mud were walking down the street asking for hugs, so we hugged them and became covered as well. When we walked into the door, Jen was furious. She made us stand in the bathtub and clean ourselves. There are probably the best memories I have of meeting these guys, and are the ones where Jen and I was together, diffused the loonydom. The next day we went to the mall, where Jen kept wanting things. Between that and dinner, they successfully managed to suck $100 from Zara's ATM card without either of us noticing. Little things add up to a lot, and also we were late to the bus again, thus missing a day of school because of it. Zara also remembers that during the visit, we wanted to play Ouija board. Ever since I'd been a kid, whenever I got near one, it starts goofing off and spelling out stuff like breast and I love you or weird stuff. I don't have to touch the thing. Maybe it's subconsciously affecting people by proxy, or maybe it's something else, but we've always dubbed the effect Amane because it's the sequence of letters you would get every time I was in the room. Sounds hokey, but it's like harmless inside Ouija board joke. Jen explained that she knew a mae and a man. When someone is shoving the pointer around, you can feel it. Jen shoved the pointer all around the board, claiming it was a mae talking. And though it was saying serious and hokey crap that the amae would never say. One thing Jen did that really disturbed me was that she would lie to people, shop owners, people on the phone, about what or who she was in order to get things. I very clearly remember her putting on a lab coat and calling various medical supply companies in the yellow pages, trying to get medical syringes. Thank God she didn't, because she would already make us drink Mako, which is green Gatorade, and dye our food green. She probably would have injected us with green water if she got syringes. She kept claiming that she was a medical student and needed them for research, but didn't have a prescription or permission from her professor because he was out of town. Thank God the companies weren't so dumb as to believe her. They pretty much gave her a, yeah, whatever, crazy, and basically just get out treatment. She would also fib about being a student to get discounts or make friends. She was a medical student at CVS. Whether the CVS employees believed her or not, I don't know. Because she went in a lab coat at the Christian bookstore, she was adamant about the fact that angels had talked to her and that she lived with them. So of course the bookstore would give her free books and a discount. That's why Jen's vision of religion is such a hodgepodge of mix and match of whatever she felt suited her situation best. She pieces it together from movies, the internet, and a few free Christian books from less flaky, but pretty flaky people about angels. Though it all through, I had to say none of this was really that bad. Flaky maybe, annoying, yeah, but not that bad. So I was ready to go and hit the go button when Jen and Hoja suggested I live with them over the summer. I could get a job in state college and just hang around there. It'd be cool, a bunch of nerds, and I'll make rent. I was all about this because nothing drives me nuttier than being trapped in Brooklyn for months on end. I made the arrangements with my family and dragged my computer tower in my arms through the New York subway, took it slightly cheaper of a $100 bus ride from New York to State College. I think it was the first night Jen wasn't there. Honestly, I was getting along better with Hojo at this point, so I was pretty glad. We went with Trish and her to see episode 1. Trish, I could already tell, was anti-Jen, because Trish is smarter than little old me. I had an ultimatum from my mother. Job in 3 days or come home. I realized how much of a hump I had busted to find a job with no car, no phone number in 3 days. My dogs were dogged. Finally, I got one at a little small supermarket. I asked the lady during the interview if I would just be enough to pay a third of rent and food because I was living with 2 people and needed to pay. Jen's only job was a babysitter, which she infrequently did at best, and Renee was a college student. The woman said no problem, it was cool, and I had my job. Then things started to go bad.